He's Derek. She's Romaine. This is Derek and Romaine.
2.0, bitches!
Well. Derek here along with Romaine.
Hi.
Hello. So glad to have you with us. We have an A-plus episode for you today because we have a very delightful podcaster who's going to be joining us later.
The best!
Ivy Lee with one E. And Ivy is super. She is not outdoorsy, but she has done a outdoorsy podcast. And you'll hear a bit from her. But as somebody who talks to people for a living, she spends a lot of time turning the tables on us.
Yeah.
And anyway.
She asks a lot of questions.
She does. But we had a great time with her. She's lovely. And I think you're going to enjoy that coming up in the second half of today's episode. But first, Derek and Romaine are here to inform and entertain you. Recently, who knows when you're listening to this? Recently, people could be playing this on their eyeballs in 2055 for all I know. But
Yeah.
Recently, we did some episodes where we reached back a little bit into recent history of stories that we could have covered, that we had pulled for the show, that we didn't actually cover recently. So since we're doing this again, and it was such a huge hit, we got such great feedback from everybody. They really loved the sort of retro, very recent retro thing that we did.
Yes.
I mean, nothing says I'm current but retro like Derek and Romaine.
That's right.
It's our brand. So here we are back at it again here on the show.
Yes, indeed.
And I think we should kick things off. You know, this HBO Max show, HBO, The Last of Us, they had a gay episode. There's no spoilers now. I mean, it's so long ago. But they had a gay episode, and in it, there was a Linda Ronstadt song called Long, Long Time that played in the episode.
Yeah.
And you watched it, right? You watched The Last of Us? Are you watching
I have
the show?
not watched it yet. No. I mean,
Lord.
I haven't had time. Remember, I had Saban in my house for a gazillion years.
But he's gone now, hopefully.
I hope.
By the time this airs.
You never really know. So, and then we had a very busy month of March. So I didn't have as much free time to watch TV as I normally do. So I have not gotten to watching it yet. But I do want to watch it.
All right. Well, in this case, in the episode, there was a Linda Ronstadt song that played in the episode, and it immediately went right back up the charts after having not been on the charts for 40 years.
Which is awesome.
Or so. And everyone was saying at the time, like, oh, this is the Kate Bush moment for Linda Ronstadt. And, she's going to rake in the bucks because last summer, Kate Bush, with Running Up That Hill, made millions of dollars in royalties from that song playing all over the place because she wrote the song and recorded it. They used her version. So she just made bank when it went up the charts last summer. Well, Linda Ronstadt has bad news for people who are hoping she was going to get rich off of this song playing on The Last of Us because she sold her catalog a couple of years ago. So while she's thrilled that people are listening to the song and enjoying it, and it did well, and people liked it in the show, she already made all the money she's going to make off that song because her catalog is long gone. But a lot of artists are doing this. They're selling their back catalogs because I think many of them are like, I want to cash in my lifetime and not wait to die, and then my heirs fight over it, and then they sell the catalog, and then they get the money.
Right.
Some of them are like, let me just get the money now. But fun fact about the use of the song in the show, we, Derek and Romaine, have a connection to the show and the song.
What?
Yeah. So the creators of the show were working on the episode and everything, writing it and figuring it out. And while they were working on it, they needed a song. They wanted a song, and they couldn't figure out what song they were going to do or whatever. So one of the creators of the show, or one of the writers, head writers, creators, showrunners, called a pal of ours, Seth Rudetsky, Mr. Seth.
Oh, shut up.
And said, hey, this is the thing. We really need a song here. And he's like, I've got just the song for you. This Linda Ronstadt song, that's the song.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And he picked the song. So he did get a, special thanks credit. I noticed in the episode, I was like, Seth Rudetsky. And in it, there's like piano playing and everything. And I thought, well, maybe Seth
played
piano because the actors can't actually play. This happens sometimes. Right. You need somebody to play. But apparently he was the one who picked the song for The Last of Us, and then it became this big hit. So we have Mr. Seth.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know.
How
He's
cool
the one
is
to thank
that?
for it.
I love that Seth. He's so sweet. I miss seeing him around. Just hanging out. Oh, what a nice guy. Oh, that's very cool. Wow. Now I will be thinking of him when I watch the series. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing that you might be interested in, Romaine, is Gillian Anderson wants your sexual fantasies. Don't make that face. It's still radio.
Why?
So, Gillian Anderson, who you know is one of the stars of Sex Education.
Yes, a show I fucking love.
It's a great show on Netflix. They've got another season coming up soon.
Yeah.
Depending on when you listen to this. And apparently she is curating, her words, a book of women's sexual fantasies. And so she has requested through her social media that people send her their sexual fantasies.
I mean, that is a dangerous proposal right there.
I agree.
God only knows what the fuck people are going to send her.
Well, a lot of sexual fantasies of Gillian Anderson.
I mean, I'm sure there's some of that. But listen, she is a beautiful woman. And she has aged very well, I believe. But sexual fantasies can go in a lot of different directions. Some of them can be quite deviant, and others can be quite innocent. So I'll be curious to see.
Which will yours be?
If I were to write out a sexual fantasy,
for Gillian Anderson,
mine might be a little risque. Let's say.
Now, would you be willing to send Gillian Anderson a sexual fantasy that you have that includes Gillian Anderson?
No, because I don't think I have any sexual fantasies about her.
That's very disappointing.
I would have sex with her.
Sure.
If the opportunity were to arise. Because she is a beautiful woman, as I have said. But
and something tells me she's good in the sack.
I bet she is, actually. Because she
has
the right amount of...
and
she has the right amount of confidence. Because I feel like most women who are not good in the sack is mostly about personal confidence. Like either they don't feel confident in their sexual abilities or they don't feel confident about their body. And so they kind of withdraw inside themselves and they're not free to fully explore their sexuality. So I think when you have someone who's very confident, very sure of themselves, sexually and physically, they're a lot more fun, I think. And also straight women, I find are they have less inhibitions than lesbians do. They're willing to try many more things than your average lesbian, let's say. Because straight women, they're game for everything. Because guys are always asking them to do the craziest shit. The shit my straight friends tell me that their boyfriends or their husbands want, I'm just like, what?
Well, it's because straight porn is gross.
Yes.
And then the guys are like, oh, I want to try whatever this gross thing is.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's a lot of that.
Not like gay porn. You should not
learn how to have sex from watching porn.
No. Gay porn, on the other hand, is not gross. It's dignified and thoughtful, respectful, filled with consent and tender longing. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No.
Gay porn is also gross.
Yeah, it's
but
gross.
In its own different way.
I mean, gay porn is gross, but it's also kind of hot.
Well, I
like
actually
the power dynamics in gay sex.
It's different when it's two men.
Yeah.
because you're not, there are other things, other societal expectations are not wrapped up in two men.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. Also, like when two men are having sex and one man is very disrespectful to the other man, it doesn't bother me. But I do find the straight porn where the men are disrespectful to the women, I find that unseemly.
Right.
And I understand that there are some women who are interested in being disrespected in bed, and bless you if that's you. But to me, and I'm not, the target demo for this, but yeah, I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me. What can I say?
I understand.
Yeah, but if it's a man to another man, that's fine. That's great. Doesn't bother me.
Okay.
I'm gonna let Gillian Anderson know. I haven't. Well, first of all, she wants sexual fantasies from women specifically, probably because she doesn't want a bunch of gross X-Files cosplay sent to her from straight dudes. But also, I think that it may be illuminating specifically what women are fantasizing about, because I think movies and books and television and porn made by straight men doesn't always link up with what women actually want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's not a surprise, though, is it?
Well, look, who knows what anybody is thinking or wants. I think it's hard because frequently people will project onto another person what it is that they want.
Right. That's true.
This is why I think gifts are such an act of hostility, because frequently the gift that you give to somebody is the gift you want for yourself, which is not necessarily what they want. A good gift giver is giving a gift that the other person wants, not one that they want or that they think is great.
Yes.
Like my old strategy of when people got married, of giving Braun hand mixers. Like, well, everybody needs a hand mixer. But the thing is, they didn't ask for it. But I'm like, trust me, this is going to change your life. You're going to love it. But that is me imposing my will on you. And it might pleasantly surprise you. You might actually like it. But the reality is, if you don't, I'm just being hostile to you by forcing my beliefs onto you.
And I'm an excellent gift giver, and it's because I do exactly what you're saying. I don't buy a gift for me. I really think about the person I'm buying the gift for. And then I get a gift for them that I know they will love. And people tell me all the time I'm a great gift giver because of that. So I think there's truth to that.
Yeah.
I definitely do. Okay. Well. Now we know I'm an awesome gift giver, which we already knew.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Derek hates gifts, which is why I never buy him any.
Which is perfect. Like, this is the perfect relationship. Because then Romaine does not have to get me anything.
No, although sometimes there are things I want to get you, but I'm like, no, he hates gifts. Don't do it, Romaine. Don't do it.
Maybe one of your fantasies was related to Scooby-Doo.
To Scooby-Doo?
All right. Well, you know how recently they have the new Velma on HBO that Mindy Kaling did, and people are upset about it.
They are?
Yeah. It hasn't gotten great reviews, and some people are upset, even though it has kind of a Leslie Velma vibe.
It's probably because it's a departure of the Scooby-Doo they know, and therefore they don't like it. People don't like new things. They like old shit the way they like it.
I'm just going to say something about the original Scooby-Doo cartoons.
Yeah.
They're not that great.
No, they're horrible.
So stop being precious about it.
Yeah, I agree. Although I hated those live-action Scooby movies. I hated them so much. I couldn't watch them.
Well, apparently, according to your girlfriend and mine, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh, yeah.
She has confirmed that there was gay content in the Scooby-Doo movie, because Freddie Prinze Jr. has also hinted at this too, that apparently, like, Fred was gay or, like, coded gay, and so Freddie Prinze Jr. was playing Fred gay.
Oh. And not everyone read it that way?
They cut all of any reference around it. So then it's like, now here's this fey performance by Freddie Prinze Jr. for no reason.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, but Sarah Michelle Gellar says that actually in the original cut and plan of the first Scooby-Doo movie, there was a bit more gay and gay innuendo in it. And she thinks audiences should see it, and that they should, release some kind of,
gay director's cut. Okay. Interesting. Well, That would be interesting to see.
Do you think the movie would be any better if they put the gay content back in?
I hated everything about those movies.
It looks so dumb.
Dumb. Just dumb. And I can watch a dumb movie. Like this Cocaine Bear movie that came out recently. Like that's a dumb movie that you know going in is just going to be a dumb movie and you just go in to laugh. Or like a Medea movie, right? Okay, I can handle those kind of dumb movies. But this movie, no. Because this is a dumb movie that I don't even think realized it was a dumb movie.
I think they knew it was dumb. It was a live action version of Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
I think the problem with something like this, and we'll see what happens this summer with the Barbie movie when it comes out, is it is a fine line you have to walk.
Yeah.
When you're purposefully creating something that could be perceived as camp.
Yeah.
And I think if you're doing a live action of a doll or a cartoon, then you have to figure out where that line is.
Right.
And I think it's tough because, you know, in the original definition of camp, something is camp not because it's over the top and ridiculous. Right. It's because it's something that is made in sincerity that is, in the finished product, over the top and ridiculous.
Yes.
So like Mommy Dearest, which was made as a serious Oscar contender movie starring an Oscar-winning actress that has since instead become
crazy sideways
chant-along gay movie where gays howl with laughter when a child is beaten. That's camp. So you have to, and that came from a place of sincerity.
About gay people and how fucked up our brains are that we laugh about child abuse.
There's just something about that movie that it's tipped over into another place.
I get it.
And that's fine. I mean, I feel bad in a way for Christina Crawford because she obviously had some serious trauma in her life, a seriously traumatic relationship with her mother. No matter what happened in their relationship, it was obviously traumatic.
Right.
Because people don't spend their entire adult life bitter about their mother for nothing.
Right.
And I suspect, and the people who have said, oh, Joan Crawford would never do these things, were not people who lived in that house.
Right.
Necessarily. And the younger kids who were not around when Christina Crawford was like getting the worst of it because she was shuttled off to a boarding school in her early teens, like I feel as a middle schooler, like pretty early on.
Right.
They weren't around to see it, so they didn't really get to witness it. Now everybody's dead. So, but I feel bad for Christina Crawford because she is a serious advocate for survivors of child abuse and whatever else. Mm-hmm. And I know that she did not intend for her story to turn into a gay camp classic. But to her credit, and I'm sure for financial reasons, she has leaned into it. And, you know, every Mother's Day, they're rolling out some new DVD version of Mommy Dearest, and she's making the rounds with her book and, you know, whatever. So she's in on it. And maybe in a way, it has changed the conversation about child abuse. Maybe. But yeah, it is also, of all the things that you can imagine, because, you know, in our modern era, there are all sorts of things from the past that have aged badly, right? That in the time, like, oh, this wasn't so bad. And then as time goes on, it's like, oh no, this is bad. Maybe we shouldn't have loved this for as long as we did. Of all the things that could age terribly for the gay community, thinking that Mommy Dearest is a punchline could be one of those things that in a like even more woke era down the road, there could be a younger generation of gays who are like, this is not funny. And the old queens who think this is funny, it is really offensive. And they should all be canceled for how disrespectful they are, Christina Crawford, about this movie.
Right.
That could 100% happen. And that would not be an invalid feeling to have, because it is inappropriate. But I'll be honest, you know, you can rip my love of Mommy Dearest out of my cold dead hand, because that movie is a hoot. Sorry, Faye Dunaway, but It is a lot of fun.
Okay. I mean, every gay I know loves that movie, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oy. Anyway.
Well, speaking of upcoming TV, we didn't talk about it on the show at the time, but some on-the-set photos of upcoming cast members of the new season of And Just Like That, the Sex and the City sequel, emerged, and people noticed that Aiden and Carrie are walking around together in the show.
I mean, this is a surprise, though, that they brought Aiden back. Can it really be? I mean, because he's such a beloved character, so it's not really a surprise to me.
No, I don't think it's a surprise because they have, for several reasons, killed off several recurring characters in the first season of It Just Like That.
Well, some of them were killed off in character, and then some of them actually died in real life.
Right. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
But also, any reboot of a show is ultimately fan service. So people are going to want to see the characters, return. And the Aiden storyline on Sex and the City, Aiden had his story arc over, I think, 2 seasons. I don't remember. We both watched the show recently, and I feel like it was over a couple of seasons. And then he did come back a couple of other times.
Yeah.
And so it should not be remotely a surprise that he's coming back. I just wonder, because there were all sorts of big stars who were one-off sex partners with Carrie Bradshaw.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder how many of more of those will pop up out of nowhere. That, like, we could see John Slattery again. Why not?
Yeah.
Remember, as the politician who pees?
Yes. Oh, God. She did have some crazy ass partners. I don't know. I think I'd like to see Carrie with a new love, not an old one. I don't want to see her go back to the past. I feel like going back to the past is, I mean, how many people really do that?
Go back to the past?
Yeah.
All the time. People do that all the time.
I never do.
But People Magazine will have some sweet story about high school sweethearts who moved away, and then 40 years later, they run into each other, and then they get married in a nursing home. This happens all the time.
Really?
Yes.
I would never do that. And there's only one.
Really?
No, there is one.
Never?
There is one ex-girlfriend. That's
right.
It. There's only
exactly.
one. But that'll never happen.
But let's just say it did.
And even if it did happen, I can't imagine it would be what I think it would be in my mind.
Probably.
It would probably be a huge disappointment.
I actually, because Carrie ended up being really terrible to Aiden on the show.
She was horrible.
Horrible to Aiden.
Carrie is not a good person.
Well.
No. Carrie is not a good person. And anyone who thinks she is delusional. Carrie's a fucking mess. And she's kind of self-centered. And by kind of, I mean totally. I don't even know that she's a good friend to her friends.
She's not a great friend.
No, she's kind of not. She's kind of a horrible person. Now, I know you relate really heavily to this character.
I do, and I am a horrible person, so...
I say as I'm looking at you, telling you what a horrible person, I'm like, oh wait, Derek kind of relates to this character. Oops, I mean, she's a great person.
Talk about ripped from the headlines.
Yeah, I don't really think any of those women are particularly great.
Maybe not. But, this is a good thing for them to explore on the show because, it gives her an opportunity to maybe recognize that she was not a great friend in the past.
Yeah.
And not a great girlfriend in the past, too.
Actually, I think of all those girls, the only one that is a good person is Charlotte. Because, Miranda's a total... look what she did to poor Steve. He just loved her. And he was so happy being with her. And then she just smashed his little fucking heart all into pieces for no reason. Except she was bored.
The straight ladies, they're not into the nice guy.
Yeah.
That happens all the time. I would like to refer you back to how disrespectful men are in porn.
Yeah, valid. Okay, good point.
I really think, I think that people, I don't know. It's tough because I'm sure there are all sorts of people like, no, I actually do want somebody who is nice, not somebody who is terrible. But ultimately, I think you just have to find somebody that you sync up with. Mm-hmm. That's the hard part.
I think that's the key. I think that's the key.
And
you have
that
to
is-
have someone who you can just is a good partner in life.
And this is the problem, I think, that Aiden and Carrie, the reason they didn't work out is they did not sync up. Aiden, on paper, was a great boyfriend.
Yeah.
But but not for her. Yeah. I mean, it was lovely that he made custom furniture for her and whatever else, but their lives were too different. Yeah. They were never going to mesh, and her apartment was too small for the two of them.
Mm-hmm. Sure was. Yeah. Yeah. You need someone when shit goes sideways who looks at you and says, "We're in this together." That's when you know you got a good relationship. This is why I think Iris and I are still together. Because when shit goes sideways, she turns to me and says, "Don't worry, we're in this together." And I know she means it. That's the kind of
As opposed to me, where I'm like, meet, bye.
Yeah, exactly. You're not trustworthy. You're like, I'm out of here, bye.
That is
Have
not
fun.
true. You know what? We travel together all the time. I've never left you behind at a hotel or
You
an
come
airport.
close.
I did, because your slow ass was not answering its phone and not working, and we had a plane to catch, and you're all sauntering up with a churro.
It wasn't a churro.
It was something, even though
was.
we were in a
It was a
hurry.
beignet, I
Yeah,
believe.
you stopped like on your way. You remember when we were on that cruise and those two ladies missed the cruise and they had ice cream cones
I
in their
do
hands.
remember, I
They
do.
made a choice and missed the boat.
I remember.
And we almost missed our plane.
We did?
Because you were like, I just need a beignet on my way. Even though I'm like, oh my God, where are you?
What? Me? Who? Huh?
Anyway, look, life is tough out on the road.
Isn't it?
And it is tough for Ivy Lee with one E. How'd you like that for a transition?
That was very good, Derek.
I thought it was.
Very, very good.
So I think you will enjoy our conversation with her. She is just an absolute delight. And I think you're going to subscribe to her podcast and check it out too after you hear the conversation, because she is not an outdoorsy person. And then she just decides to go
She's crazy.
outside.
She's a wild woman. I love
Bless
her,
her.
though.
Bless
I
her
love
heart.
her. You're going to love her too, trust me.
That's right. And she's coming up next here on Derek and Romaine.
Stay tuned for more Derek and Romaine.
Derek here along with Romaine, and joining us now, it is comedian and podcast host Ivy Lee, and that is Lee with one E. You can find Ivy on Twitter, Ivy Lee with one E on Twitter, and Ivy is the host of FOGO, Fear of Going Outside. The second season of the podcast is out now with new episodes on Mondays everywhere you get your fine podcasts. Ivy, welcome to the show.
I'm so happy to be here. You guys are so fun.
You hardly even know us, but let's get to know each other. Let me ask you, let's start off with a pop quiz. Is this racist or not racist? Okay,
What?
Are you ready? I know.
This is literally the game I play every day. I'm ready.
Okay, good. All right. 3 character minimums to fill in your name online.
Racist.
Yeah, how much of a struggle is that for you on a daily basis?
My last name, being L-E, which is 2 letters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. Imagine people, there's a lot of people whose last name is N-G. No vowel.
Right.
Yeah, that's got to be horrible.
Yeah.
And
I had a friend once whose last name was just R, the letter R.
Oh,
South Asian.
interesting. All right. Now I feel like I have too many letters in my last name. I feel like I'm
You
hogging
do.
all the letters. Oh, that's terrible.
Can you take up less space, please?
I'm doing my best.
Let me
but
answer
I'm,
that question for you.
No. I just suck all the oxygen out of a room. I'm
Yes.
too tall. I have
Yes.
there's too many problems. No, it's too late. I'm already down this path. This is where we are.
Hi, it's you. You're the problem.
I really am. So, Ivy, let's talk about your podcast, because it is a nature podcast about going outside, but you hate the outdoors.
Oh my God, we have
Yeah.
this in common.
You have FOGO, right?
It's not fear so much as I just don't like being outside.
I think most humans don't like being outside, and that's why we invented shelter and civilization. But for some reason, the indoor perspective has never been reflected in this genre before.
Interesting.
Well, and it also is, as you have pointed out, frequently chaotic white men who are running around in the wilderness.
Yeah, and we just let them, and they style themselves as experts, and and we believe it because a lot of them have accents.
Interesting, because I always imagine the people running around outside are lesbians.
Yeah, but they don't have any nature shows.
Why don't they? Because they're always outside. Like my wife, if she could live outdoors, she would. She loves to poop in a bucket. She loves to go.
She loves it. But
no,
okay.
She loves it. Don't kid yourself. She loves to kayak places. Like, I need to go to the grocery store. Let me kayak.
Let me kayak there.
She would do that. I'm not even joking. Like my wife is such
I know you're not joking.
Crazy outdoor person. And by the way, I am literally the exact opposite. I don't know how we work. I really don't.
It's usually somebody like that gets you outside. Otherwise, I think indoor people and outdoor people are largely segregated from each other. So you guys are breaking ground. Basically.
Yeah, because she tries to get me to go outside, and I'm like, She's like, let's go on a hike, and I'm like, let's not. That sounds like work. I want to sit on my couch. She's like, let's go for a bike ride. And I'm like, bikes hurt my ass. I don't think I'm going to do that. She'll be like, let's go camping. And I'm like, over my dead fucking body.
I think at that point, you're like, let's just have an open marriage. Let's just be poly and just find somebody else to meet your outdoor needs.
It's funny you say that because that's literally what I do. I say to her, find your other lesbian friends who enjoy the outdoors and you go with them. I'll stay home. I'll do my thing. You do your thing. She did this thing where for a whole week, her and her two lesbian friends, they got in a boat and they canoed from island to island up along one of the Great Lakes.
Oh, sounds awful.
And
oh my God.
Literally, they would row from island to island. They'd set up their camp. They'd shit in a bucket. They'd eat whatever food. They had to carry everything, literally everything they had to carry in a backpack. Their bed, their tent, their food, everything, their bucket to shit in, like all of it. And my wife was like, it was one of the greatest weeks of my life. It rained the whole time. She says it was one of the greatest weeks of her life. I do not believe her. I think it was probably miserable, but she's too proud to say it. And meanwhile, every time I saw how horrible the weather was, I was like, oh my God, I could not be happier that I am not there with them. I would have murdered those three lesbians. They would be dead and floating in that fucking lake. That's what
my beloved made me go skiing.
Oh no.
And we almost divorced.
Yes. Oh God, you poor thing.
So in season 1 of Fogo, I do everything it takes to figure out how to go camping, and then I literally do it. And I will tell you, I am a bisexual mom, sex positive Asian mom. We have all kinds of people represented in the guests in season 1, and of course in season 2 too. And then like on episode 3, I have to go to therapy to kind of work through my fears because I realized that because I fail in episode 2, there's this like mental block that is just not, that I had not accounted for. And the therapist in episode 3 is a gay man. And I got so many texts from lesbian friends who were following the show being like, where's the lesbian representation? And I was like, hold your horses, it's coming. But you know damn well why the lesbian representation can't come in episode 1, 2, or 3, because then there's no show. There's no show. There's no plot arc, right? The lesbian just comes and they're just like, let's go camping right now. And there's no show. No. So, y'all need to calm down. Your lesbians are coming, season 1 and season 2, this queer representation just all over the dang place.
Oh Lord. I don't understand these lesbians though. I really don't. They baffle my mind. Like these Lilith Fair type of lesbians. I'm like, no, what is wrong with you freaks?
So you're talking about white people.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now I'm on the. Yeah. I don't understand the whites either, regardless of sexual orientation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel like you and I clearly have already bonded.
And we haven't even talked about pregnancy because Romaine has many deep thoughts about that, and I'm sure you do as well, Ivy.
Yeah, I've done it. I think a lot of people kind of in media, right? It's hard. They don't relate to motherhood because once in America, once you become a mom, you're really not allowed to be like out in public generally. So most comics and podcasters and movie and TV people and actresses, kind of in these spaces, they don't know a lot about parenthood. I think a lot of these people who are excited about season 2, which is about hunting, by the way, they thought that I would be more squeamish about it. And I'm sitting here, there's like blood and stuff all over the place. And they're like, how do you feel? And I'm like, y'all, I've given birth like twice. This is like nothing.
You're like, I got this. I will say I know a lot about hunting. So I actually, I grew up in Wyoming, which is a very outdoor place. And there's a lot of hunting and camping and all. And I grew in my childhood, I did love being outdoors because we had no choice. Like our parents would be like, go outside. You're not allowed to be inside. And so I spent much of my childhood outdoors, but I hate it as an adult. And maybe it's because I spent so much time outside as a child. But I know a lot about hunting, and I do know a lot about the outdoors, even though I hate them.
Wait, so you're like, I don't understand these outdoor lesbians.
I don't understand them. I mean, but only because I hate it so much. Like I've been there, done that, and I think it's horrible. There's no redeeming quality about camping.
So tell me about what you know about hunting, because I've never spent more than a week north of the Mason-Dixon line. I don't know anything about Wyoming.
I know a lot about hunting. So my father and my older brothers, the non-gay brothers, the straight brothers, they were hunters with my dad, and so we did a lot of. There was deer hunting. There was various birds that we hunted, from turkeys to pheasant to quail. There's elk hunting. My brothers both have mountain lions and bears, and usually some kind of like bighorn ram is hanging on a wall somewhere. So there was a lot of different types of hunting where I grew up.
Wow, I didn't even recognize half those animals.
I know. Well, and the funny thing is where I live now in Jersey, there are a lot of those types of animals there. I just don't want to kill them. But growing up with hunters is very interesting because my father was never a wealthy man. So a lot of times when he hunted, he was hunting for sustenance for his 8 children. And so I grew up eating a lot of the animals that he killed, the elk, the deer, things like that, the pheasants and the turkeys and such.
Picking her buckshot out of her dinner.
Oh, yeah. And we made a lot of very interesting stews at my house. I think the most fascinating thing about hunting, though, with my father was the post-hunt. So they'd bring home their kill. Let's say it was a deer. And we had a big garage. And then he built the house we lived in. So he built this like pit into the garage floor. And I didn't know what it was for many years, but now I do as an adult. It now makes so much sense. He built the pit into the floor of the garage so that when he brought home the elk or the deer, and he would hang it from the rafters of the garage, like he'd hoist it up in the middle of the garage, and then right above the pit, which would be a great place for all the stuff to drain into. And then they would butcher the animal in the garage. So like we had one of those big, large chest freezers, and they would cover it with butcher paper, and they would slice off all the different meats and things, and then they would wrap it up right there on top of the freezer, and then they would open the freezer and they would put it inside. And then we would live off that. Like that's how it was. Like my dad was like a hunter, butcher, everything all in one.
Yeah, I mean, you're describing food, Romaine.
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
The origin of food.
And this is what hunting was always to me. Now, I know that for other people, hunting is sport and trophy and things like that. And there was plenty of that, trust me, in my family. But, a lot of it was more for sustenance and food. And but there was always a dead animal in my garage growing up. Like you just come out one morning and there'd be a fucking mountain lion or a bear or a something hanging from the rafters. Like it was crazy.
Well, I think, because I'm Asian American, I'm super Vietnamese. I would hazard to say that pretty much everyone who eats meat has an animal in their freezer. Like just because you're not looking at it in the eyes, just because it doesn't have the fur on it anymore, doesn't mean that you don't have a dead animal in your freezer, right?
Right.
It just, for me, I think as an Asian American, I just don't, I'm not as removed from my food.
Sure.
I think as a lot of people are. Like I cook a lot. I know what I'm not scared to have like fish eyes in my soup. I'm not scared to have a pig's head on my grill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not scared of chicken feet or like, I'm like, you're eating the thigh like 5 seconds ago. Like you can go down like 2 inches and like look at the feet, like you don't have to be scared.
The feet. No, I don't want to eat the feet.
But yeah, there is a
kidding.
real, our modern food movement in the United States really is built around not knowing anything about where your food comes from. It just magically is at
Which
the
is messed
supermarket in some kind of easily palatable form, and don't think too much about where it came from or what
I
it
think
is.
you should know where your food comes from.
Yeah,
I think you should
it's-
know that pig's name.
Yeah. I named pretty much every animal that comes up in season 2. I name.
Oh God! So, do you actually kill an animal?
So I can't tell you that
Okay, all right.
because it is.
Don't spoil it.
I'm just
That would be a huge spoiler.
Yeah,
Because
you're right.
I'll tell you, hunting, going out to hunt when you're not a hunter,
Yeah.
you don't know anybody who hunts, is a complete shit show.
yeah, I could see that. Because how do you even know where to start?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and
So-
do you hunt for several different kinds of animals, and with what weapons?
So, so in episode 1,
Yeah.
and you guys say like, you're right. This is the first time I'm on y'all's show, so we haven't hung out all that much. But I will say the bar in episode 1, I end up on a Second Amendment conservative talk radio show trying
Oh.
to convince somebody to let me borrow their guns. So the bar, I guess, is just very the bar for the intimacy I feel. with different radio show hosts, right? My comfort zone is a wide berth. In the city, in urban and indoor areas like radio studios and comedy clubs and museums and restaurants, I have a wide berth of comfort. It's just the outdoor world that I don't really understand very much because
Yeah.
I just haven't had exposure or access or know anybody, right? That's outdoorsy to give me a heads up about what's going on. Because if I did, I never would have gone hunting. But no, I didn't know anybody who could warn me. To me, outdoor stuff is just kind of one broad stroke bucket of white nonsense. So I
Yeah.
didn't understand that hunting and camping are so different.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Right, and the people who choose to do them are actually two very different groups of people. I really thought that the connections I had made trying to figure out how to hunt in season 1 would be more helpful in
But
season 2.
did you go to a hunting camp?
What is a hunting camp?
Oh, I guess
a no.
I guess we know what's going to happen in season 3 because Romaine's brother has a hunting camp. So,
Yeah, so that-
if your third season you want to go to Wyoming and go to a hunting camp, Romaine can hook you up.
So a hunting camp, so for depending on what you're hunting. So let's say you're hunting elk. There's a season, right? It goes from, let's say, October 1st to November 25th. And so a lot of times hunters will establish a base camp somewhere way out in the middle of the woods, where they set up a camp. And then they usually will commute to the camp on the weekends or during the days that they are actively going to be hunting. Because sometimes, you got to get out there and you got to be out to hunt at, 4 a.m. You got to start venturing out into the woods to get ready for the hunt. So you got to be close. You can't be 3 hours away. Otherwise, oh God, that's going to be miserable and you're not going to be awake. So they have a camp. And hunting camp is a very interesting experience because there's usually a pecking order of like the people who are at the camp. And there's like the person whose camp it is. They don't have to really do anything. But then everybody else has a responsibility from, keeping the fire warm at night to cooking breakfast. Like everyone has a
So it's just like
task,
Survivor.
kind of.
Is it like a little fiefdom? Like you're just like an owner of a camp? Like
Yeah.
like a baron
yeah.
that owns the land?
Well, no, they don't own the land. They just have the permission to be there on the land and have their little camp set up. And usually it's like a big canvas tent. And but then there's a lot of drinking that happens at hunting camp, which is terrifying
Yeah,
when
guns
you
and
think
drinking.
about
What could
guns
go
and
wrong?
drinking. Yes, so it could be.
I'm
it's-
Southern. It doesn't bother me that much.
It gets a little crazy at hunting camp. There's usually some tall tales and good stories and some singing sometimes. Oh, there's so much at hunting camp.
So you've been to hunting camp.
My father had a hunting camp, and when he died, his camp then went over to my brother Patrick, and so now my brother Patrick has a hunting camp.
So he's one of the straight brothers.
Yeah.
What percentage of them turned out, straight?
So of the 5 brothers, 2 of them are straight.
Okay, so you guys had, and then of 5 brothers, so 3 sisters.
I know. So I have 2 sisters. I have 5 brothers. So there's 8 of us total, and 4 of us are gay.
Oh, so 50-50.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
good. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Just like in my family, but there's only 2 of us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the real rate of queerness, right?
Okay, wait, but we didn't get down to the what weapons.
Right,
you
so I
use.
wanted to know about hunting camp. So you went to hunting camp, which
Yeah.
just sounds to me, it just sounds like summer camp for hunters.
Yeah, okay, sure.
I mean, it's just like hunting camp, right? It just sounds like let's go to I'm signing up my kids for Lego
Yeah,
camp.
no, it's
and,
not that fun.
Hunting camp. Okay.
It's shitting in the woods and it's a whole thing.
But even so, you're
then-
singing songs and doing, crafts.
Yeah,
I mean, it sounds
crafts.
like camp.
Kind of.
Are you like smoking weed out somewhere where your dad can't smell it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that would probably be welcome.
Are there probably some percentage of the hunters like sneaking gay kisses in the woods?
No, that is definitely
Would you
not
know?
happening at hunting camp.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So okay, so then do you? I'm so sorry. I know. Well, if I may ask some
yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
So did you hunt anything?
Oh, I did not care for hunting. So I got my first gun when I was probably 7,
Oh my God.
and I was a very good shot. I am a very good shot. And I could kill just about anything, I think. But
Including your
I
wife.
remember my dad took me out for hunting practice. So we went out to a prairie dog field and we were shooting prairie dogs, which is actually quite a bit of fun. Because they pop their little heads out, you blow their little heads off, they go flying up in the air. It's quite entertaining.
It's just basically whack-a-mole.
But then we were driving home. I remember this very well. There was a bunch of little wild bunny rabbits in the field. And I said, oh, look at all those bunny rabbits. And my dad's like, I bet you can't kill one of those. And I'm like, I bet I can. So I jumped out of my car with my dad. And I had a BB gun at the time. I wasn't even shooting like one of the bigger guns. I just had my BB gun. And I started shooting at the rabbit. And my dad goes, shoot it in the eye. And so I did. And then and I killed the bunny. And then when I killed the bunny, my dad was like, go pick it up and let me see. And so I went up to the bunny and it was dead. And I had killed it. And I knew I had killed it. And I picked it up. And in that moment, when I picked up that bunny, I thought to myself, I will never do this again. Because
And you were 7.
I was probably 10 at the time. But
10. Okay.
what it was, so when you were shooting the prairie dogs, that is fun because you're not walking over and picking up their little dead bodies. But when I picked up the animal that I killed, it triggered something in me that said, I don't want to do this again. So and even though I could have gone and hunted with the deer and the elk and all that, I probably would have been a very good hunter. I chose at that moment not to become a hunter. I made a conscious decision at 10 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you dabbled in it. You got one bunny and a bunch of prairie dogs.
Yeah.
And then because so I feel like you absolutely can say that you definitely are not a hunter because you actually did it
Yeah.
and decided it just wasn't your thing.
It wasn't my thing. And shooting birds, because I shot birds and stuff too with my dad, which is a different kind of gun and a different kind of experience. But that didn't bother me. But for some reason, the rabbit really bothered me. And then the idea of killing like a deer or an elk or something larger, it never sat well with me. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Which was much to the disappointment of my father.
Especially because you were Annie Oakley.
Yeah, he was super disappointed.
You're like this little sharpshooter hunting buddy.
Yeah, I was, and he was bummed. But that's the way it goes.
But he's dead now, so.
Yeah, exactly.
That's looking on the bright side.
Exactly. Okay, but I still want to know what kind of weapons. I gotta know what kind of weapons were you using? Pistols, long rifles, shotguns.
Dueling.
You could. You laugh, but I know hunters who have used like a 9mm to kill a deer, which, by the way, not recommended.
Not recommended.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that out. It is because it's really surreal to me to hear you as a hunter describing these things, and that I actually know kind of what you're talking about, because I host a nature show on a major network. Like I am a nature show host, and it's so surreal to know so much about things that I have zero interest in. You basically be an expert at the outdoors now. It is just super weird. I'm just going to be on my deathbed being like, wow, like there were so many books that I wanted to read before I die, but I couldn't because I spent all my time learning about nature instead. But so we start out trying to get guns, and that's in episode 1 that's already out. And what I decide to go after is wild hogs, because we actually have a huge wild hog problem here in Texas. Half the wild hogs in North America are here in Texas. And apparently they're a huge economic problem. At the very minimum, they're a huge economic problem for ranchers.
Scary dangerous.
And I've heard they're dangerous. A little bit of that. The more I learn about hogs and the people who hate them, the more I'm like, I don't know who started what. Basically everybody who knew firsthand that they were dangerous told me the story about how dangerous they were. But when you just rewind a little bit back in the story, I'm like, so you were trying to kill this hog and then it got dangerous. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, grain of salt. I'm going to take that with a grain of salt. But I start trying to hunt pigs because since they are considered a pest, there's no hunting season.
Right.
And, when you're making a podcast and you're going hunting for the first time, I felt that was the way to go instead of having the time pressure of a really short hunting season.
And pork is delicious.
But also, like these hogs are really a problem. This is so ridiculous, but I just had a friend who had a wild hog run into her moving vehicle and basically ripped the entire front end of her car off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like with tusks?
Yeah.
She should have bought
Big fucking hog ran right at her moving vehicle.
Well, she should have bought domestic. I don't know what to say.
And just busted her fucking car up.
The hog was pro-America, and it hated her foreign car. I don't know
maybe.
I don't know what happened.
I don't even know. So hogs. And I'm assuming guns. Because I can't imagine you trying to shoot a hog with a bow and arrow.
Oh, no, that would be fun.
Well, I do end up getting convinced to try bow hunting.
Oh God!
Because I did not even know that people were still hunting with bows and arrows.
Oh yeah.
In my county, it's the only way.
Century.
Yeah, in my county, the only deer hunting you can do in my county is bow and arrow hunting. That's true.
Yeah, and so it's super interesting. The ethics that kind of comes up is here in our culture that's seen as in some ways a more ethical kind of more like you're just giving the animal a fair shot.
A fair shot.
Whereas abroad, so I have family in Germany. In Germany, you're not allowed to bow hunt because it's seen there as less ethical because it's a more painful death, for example.
But also,
they have, other considerations.
You have to be a really good archer to successfully kill an animal, because most of the time you just end up injuring the animal and not killing.
Yeah, that's why over there. Yeah, that's why over there it's not allowed at all. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm okay with the bow and arrow. I'm not as good as I am with a gun.
So I go after both.
Okay.
I never even once I get my bow and arrow, I never give up trying to get a gun. But it's just that when I start out, at the beginning from complete knowing absolutely nothing about this space except that I probably need to go get a gun. I walk into a gun shop. And they try to sell me a $4,000 gun, and that's like my entire budget for. It's practically my entire budget.
That's insane.
Yeah, but I didn't. But it was. I was like, oh, I mean, if this is how much guns cost, like, this is just not an option for me. Which is why I end up on that Second Amendment conservative talk radio show trying to convince somebody to let me borrow a gun.
Wow.
Well, I want you to know we have a few gun-owning listeners. on our show, and I promise you that the next time you need to go hunting, some of our people can hook you up. Or if you want to do this hunting camp in Wyoming, I'm sure that Patrick will hook you up locally.
The funny thing is that I literally, like I said, I live in Jersey, and my neighbor, her father was doing the bear hunt this season, and I was asking about it because he was coming home from one of his hunts, and I said, "Oh, how was your hunt?" And we're talking. And I said, "Oh, I'm from Wyoming. We do a lot of hunting out there." And he lost his mind. And he was like, "Oh, my God. I've always wanted to go to Wyoming and go hunting. It's so beautiful there." And I'm like, "Oh, well, let me put you in touch with my brother Patrick. I'm sure he'll invite you to hunting camp."
Yeah.
And he did. So I put him in touch with my brother Patrick. He's going out to hunting camp this fall. And he's so excited. And it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm interested. I think my experience, I'll say I like hunting a lot better than camping.
Okay.
Because, when I go out into a blind or I'm going out, I'm like, this is taking a long time, but I know why. I know that as soon as I kill an animal and finish quartering the animal and processing the animal, we're going to go home and sleep at home. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas camping, I'm just out here and I'm just like, why are we still out here?
Yes.
For no good reason. For no good reason at all. And it just makes the time feel interminable,
Yeah. Now, with your Fear of the Outdoors show, what's next? So camping, hunting, what are you going to do next? Farm?
Hopefully something less expensive than hunting was.
I think you should try
Christ.
farming.
Just farming, I don't know how interesting I can make just the growing of plants.
No, not necessarily growing plants. But go to a working farm where there's horses and chickens and pigs and things like other animals to take care of. Because I have to say, this is how I have been converted into spending time outdoors. There's a small farm behind my house, and for a long time it sat vacant, but we got neighbors during the pandemic that took it over, and they have been turning the farm into a working farm. And I have to say, I love going to the farm. Love it. I spend more time at the farm than I should. I just show up uninvited all the time, my poor farmer neighbors. And I go and I visit the horses. I go and visit the pig. I go sit on their porch and have coffee on Sundays. It's actually quite amazing.
But what is it with you outdoor people just trying to constantly convert us? Is there a book?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't ever think I could be converted to go outdoors because I fucking hate it. But there is something, I think it's the animals that have convinced me that spending time outside is not so bad.
Delicious animals.
Some of them are delicious.
Yeah, when they're alive, they poop. And it's I took my kids to a zoo the other day.
Yeah.
And I remember just this exhibit being like, oh my gosh, we're going to go to this exhibit with all these majestic animals, like the zebras and the ostrich and the elephants and the giraffes or whatever. And 2 seconds in, I got a whiff of just the scat everywhere. And I'm like, not majestic. Not majestic.
Oh, well, then
No.
you definitely don't want to go into a chicken coop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I do. I was not asking to. And they go with the thing about the zoos, and it's like when you're out in nature, all the cool stuff's kind of spread out, right? And so then kind of the annoying thing about nature is, well, now you have to walk to everything. And it takes forever, right? But in a zoo, they concentrate, the zoo just specializes in the animal part of the outdoors, and then they concentrate all the cool stuff. But then because they concentrate all this cool stuff in nature in this caged outdoor space, right now you're just outdoors for hours on these trails in the zoos, and it's so stressful because it's just everything in nature in concentrate, and it's just in some ways even more stressful than nature, this artificial concentration of nature, and it just just imagine that's what a farm smells like. It's just elephant poop all the time.
It does smell like poop.
Unless you're at Martha Stewart's, because remember her horse barn smells like lemons.
Yeah.
So she doesn't allow a poop smell in her paddock. So
I wouldn't either if I was Martha Stewart.
Right, but if you're a billionaire, you can all the poop is gone the second it comes out of anything. It's processed, it's done.
if you're a billionaire, you can just cherry pick the best parts of like everything. Every culture you can pilfer, all the best parts of indoor and outdoor life you can pilfer. If you're a billionaire, you can do whatever you want, especially if you have the street cred that Martha Stewart has.
Why do we hate billionaires then, instead of just all of us aspiring to have this glamorous life?
Because we'll never have it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right, and we'll never have it because of them.
Right. Ugh, what a bummer. And then we have to go outside and find our own food. Oh, it's terrible.
It's just terrible.
It really is. Well, you're not terrible. You have been delightful. And I hope everyone checks out your podcast and fall in love with you the way that we have fallen in love with you.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more about your hunting.
I can't wait for you to listen. Hook me up with your brother. I'll bring along some friends. We'll see if we can't get some gay kissing in the woods happening at the camp.
Amazing.
Well, Romaine is always shopping for a new wife, so she's on board.
True that.
Thanks for having me. See you all.
Bet. All right. Our thanks to Ivy Lee for being with us. You can follow Ivy on Twitter. It's Ivy Lee with one E, because her last name is spelled L-E. And her second season of her podcast, Fogo, Fear of Going Outside, is available now everywhere you get your podcasts, with new episodes on Mondays. So be sure to check that out. You're listening to Derek and Romaine.
Thank you so much, Ivy.
That was a blast. Thanks so much for having me.
And no problem. No problem.
All right.
All right.
And we'll let you know.
Yeah,
we'll tag you when it goes up.
Perfect. So I can repost. I can't wait.
Yay. All right. Awesome. And
okay,
yes,
good luck with the rest of the show.
Absolutely. And reach out to us anytime. We'd love having you on, and we'll love to have you again.
Oh, yeah. When you get further into the season, I feel like there's going to be things, especially you, Romaine, that you're going to have thoughts about, and I'm going to want to hear about.
Oh, my God. Okay. I can't
Okay.
wait.
All right. Have a good one.
All
Thanks,
right.
Ivy.
Thanks, Ivy.
Well, there you have it. The end of another perfect episode of Derek and Romaine. And if you want more great fun, go to dnrstudios.com and subscribe to get our show every day. And don't forget, for DNR Plus subscribers, you can use the DNR Cast app for iPhone, available now in the App Store.